My name is August Earthtree, and I worked at the San Diego State University, or CML, for 6 weeks. Yes. Okay, so my main work was with lobsters and urchins and seeing the relationship between lobsters and urchins. And my mentor, Vanessa, was studying if lobsters were eating the urchins in the sea because there was a huge imbalance in the amount of urchins. You've all probably in biology seen the key species, and otters are at the top, and then they basically are supposed to eat the urchins, but that wasn't happening because there weren't otters. So I got to work with lobsters. That's a pregnant lobster. I got to go on a boat and catch the lobsters in these huge crates and then haul them up. And that is me dissecting an urchin. Okay. So this is the tropic interactions. So the orcas didn't have enough food where they were at, so they ate all of the otters, which is very sad because the otters couldn't eat the urchins, and then the urchins overpopulated and killed the kelp. Yeah, and so she was studying to see if lobsters were eating the urchins, which it turns out after 2 years of research they weren't, because as you can see, they're not very tasty, and they have spines on them, and you would not want to eat them at all. So that was kind of sad that the lobsters weren't eating them. So I got to work with all the tanks of lobsters. Okay. This is me dissecting an urchin and seeing how many gonads they had. So the orange part is the gonad, and that's basically the sperm and egg of the urchin, and that's what the lobsters eat. So if there's, all of the words are cut off. So if it's healthy, it's a bright orange, which this one is clearly like really, really sick, so it's supposed to be a really bright orange, and the amount of gonads show how healthy they are, basically. It was kind of sad the first few times cutting into the urchins, but then you get used to brutally killing these tiny forms of life. As Vanessa explained, they're not actually living, they're just barnacles that are separate from the ocean, so that made me feel better. Okay. We would also seine for fish. That's me seining with a ponytail, but we would seine for all of these fish to see. It was for a different lab, so one of my mentors was doing it kind of for no reason for a different lab, just for science. That was nice. Dedication of a couple hours every week. But we would see like a flounder and then like a crab, and we would basically just count. And that was really sad because in the bucket, once we seined a bunch of fish, and they all came up, and then the heat basically killed them, and there were 200 fish, and they all died. And it was a very tiny pond, and so we felt really bad because there was no more fish in the pond, but that was a sad day. And then, I also work with microorganisms, but they're not very interesting, so I didn't include them. And so we would basically have to scrape off kelp and get all these tiny microorganisms and put them in a jar and then count them under a microscope. And this took up most of my time, and I didn't even get through this much. And so I have to like take one out and then identify it and put it back. That was very fun. Our adventures were, there's no words. All my words are cut off, but we went to La Jolla Beach and we saw a baby otter. Yes, otter, seal, sea lion, baby sea lion. And we went to the farmer's market and a pizza place and then the beach. We spent a lot of time at the beach, and we also went to malls and Trader Joe's, so that was fun. Okay. Things to know: if you don't do something, somebody else will have to do it. So there's one point in my internship where we would have to break off the legs of lobsters to put them in a small jar and then ship them off somewhere. And Vanessa felt really bad doing it, so I was like, I'll do it. And so I had to cut off the legs of like 10 lobsters, but I justified that by saying, well, she's gonna have to do it, so just do your work and nobody else will have to. And then listen, don't talk too much. They're giving you a lot of vital information that you're going to need, so you have to listen and also take notes. And remember to remember it all. Don't just go through it and not see all the wondrous stuff that you're looking at, because it's a really amazing experience and you want to experience it all in the moment and remember it. Yeah. And then thank you to Sarah Holbrook for coordinating all of this. It wouldn't be possible without her. And Ashley and Rex, Pinhead, and the CMIL team, and especially Lou, because she was an amazing friend along this trip. And that's the entire team.